It's just an urban legend. Vadim grinned, leaning back in his chair. It's nothing. Yeah? Dima squinted, tapping on the keyboard. What if I told you I found her? Nonsense. Lyra waved away, pulling her knees up to her chest. It's a scare story. Then why is the site still working? Dima turned the laptop around, showing the screen. On a black background in red letters burned the phrase, "Do you want to see the scariest entry of your life?" Below it was a single button, Enter. The three friends froze. Vadim swallowed nervously. And you seriously want to press it? Dima smirked. Of course. He clicked. The screen blinked, and the picture changed. The camera was broadcasting from a poorly lit room. Red walls as if splattered with blood, rusty chains hanging from the ceiling. In the center was a man tied to a chair. His face was hidden by a sack. Man, that's rough, Lyra muttered, pulling away. Dima wanted to say something, but the screen flashed, and the bag was ripped off the man's head. The three friends froze. On the screen was Dima. What the? He recoiled, looking in horror at his face contorted with fear. Vadim jumped up. This is a prank, isn't it? Lyra, are you in? But the girl only shook her head, pale as a sheet. A message appeared on the screen. Let the show begin. A man in a black hood entered the frame, holding a long knife. Dima on the screen screamed. And then, the knife began to slowly enter his stomach. The real Dima felt a sharp pain. He lowered his gaze. His t-shirt began to darken. Blood oozed from his stomach, and the screen was filled with silent laughter. Shit, Dima, you're bleeding, Lyra shouted, recoiling. Dima yanked up his t-shirt, but there was no wound, just a sticky stain of purple liquid running down his skin. On the screen, his doppelganger was beating in agony. The hooded man slowly guided the knife across his abdomen, leaving a long bloody cut. Shut it off, Vadim shouted, but Lyra had already slammed the laptop lid shut. The room fell into dead silence. It's some fucking virus. Dima tore off his bloody t-shirt. A glitch. A montage. Then why do you feel pain? Lyra spoke quietly, her hands trembling. Vadim rushed to the laptop and slowly opened it. The screen was blank. The website was gone. Great, a shitty joke. That's all, Vadim muttered. But at the same instant, Lyra's phone screen lit up. New message. Next you. Lyra felt something cold slowly squeezing her throat. A black blurry reflection appeared in the mirror behind her back. And it was moving on its own. Lyra, your shadow, Dima whispered, stumbling backward. Lyra slowly turned to the mirror. The black reflection behind her back stretched out, growing taller. Its eyes were bottomless empty voids. It raised a hand and squeezed an imaginary noose. Lyra felt something squeezing her neck. She wheezed, clutching at the invisible fingers, but the grip only grew tighter. Shit, Lyra, Vadim rushed to her, but at that moment an eerie sound came from the laptop speaker, a low, distorted voice. No one can get out of the red room. The screen lit up again. Now Lyra was there. She was sitting in the same room as Dima had been before, her face pale, her lips quivering. A hooded figure stood in front of her. Shut it off, Vadim yelled, but Dima only stared at the screen in horror. In the video, the hooded man slowly raised his hands and sharply drove the long scissors into Lyra's neck. The real Lyra let out a strangled scream and collapsed to the floor. Blood gushed from her throat. Everything on the screen went out again. Dima and Vadim stood in absolute silence. A new inscription appeared on the laptop screen. Next you. Vadim froze. The breathing behind him was slow, intermittent, as if something huge and dark was standing right behind him. Don't turn around, Dima whispered, but his voice trembled. The laptop screen flashed. Vadim was now sitting in the red room. He was tied to a chair, and a hooded man was walking slowly towards him with something heavy in his hands. No, 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 no. Vadim backed away, but at the same moment he felt icy fingers on his shoulder. Immediately the screen went out. The room flashed with light. Lyra was alive. She was breathing heavily, clutching her neck, but there was no more blood. Dima blinked. They were sitting at the table again, as if nothing had happened. The laptop was closed. What happened? Vadim whispered, grabbing his head. Lyra swallowed convulsively. Was it a dream? A glitch? Dima slowly reached for the laptop. Lyra and Vadim recoiled in horror, but he simply flipped the lid, and all that was on the screen was their webcam. The three friends stared into it. Silence. And suddenly, a fourth figure slowly stood up from behind them. The hooded man was in the room. The three friends didn't move. The hooded figure stood behind their backs, its reflection visible on the laptop screen. "This can't be real," Vadim whispered, but his voice trailed off. The figure moved. Lyra cried out, but the sound was cut off. Her mouth seemed to disappear. Her skin was fused, leaving only a silent scream. Dima tried to jump up, but his body wouldn't listen. The figure raised its hand and pointed at the screen. The laptop turned on again. The broadcast. 3 empty chairs stood in the center of the red room. The three friends were already sitting on them, strapped in. Lyra, Dima, Vadim. The real ones. "No," Vadim muttered. "It's us." The hooded figure came closer. On the screen, another figure emerged from behind the camera. The fourth chair was not empty. The hooded figure sat there as well. She slowly took off her hood. And there, the three friends saw their own faces. Lyra, Dima, Vadim. But with empty eye sockets and bloody mouths. The screen went black. The last thing they heard was the sound of clanking scissors. And then, a red screen. The city woke up as usual. No sign of them, no messages. No Dima, Lyra, or Vadim. Their disappearance remained a mystery. The apartment where they had last been online looked untouched. But here's what was weird. The laptop was still working. It was displaying a browser window on its screen. A website with a black background. Do you want to see the scariest entry of your life? The mouse cursor blinked, waiting for an answer, and the webcam reflected 4 silhouettes. The fourth sat a little closer to the screen. His face was hidden by a hood, and he was looking directly at you.